I promised you that I would show you all my 2024 goals sometime soon, and that time is now. So we're going to take a look at my 2024 goals today. So before I get into what my goals actually are, I want to talk a little bit about what goal setting system I use, I guess you could call it. So I use a goal setting system that is called Makse Life, if you're American and pronouncing it the way it is actually phonetically written. But it's phonetically written to match the word Moxie, which in Australia is pronounced Moxie rather than Marksy. So I call it Makse Life. If you want to call it Makse Life and have an Australian accent, go for it. I don't care what you call it. Anyway, not important. But I use this goal setting system that is called Makse Life. You can find it on YouTube, you can find it on their website. They sell a bunch of planners which sort of teach you this goal setting system that they use, but you don't have to use the planners. They have a lot of free downloads available on their website that walk you through a lot of the steps, and then they also have videos on their YouTube channel, plus just any YouTube channel that you find that uses this and actually uses the planners and has the information in front of them will teach you a lot about how to use the system yourself without buying the planners. I also don't follow it exactly, so don't take my word as the exact way to do things. That's not what this is about. This is just the foundation of what I use in order to set my goals. Which, the general concept of Makse Life is that they have 6 different categories of life. I think it's 6 or is it 8? A few different categories of life that they break down. You set goals that are supposed to be for the year, and then every month you set goals based on your yearly goals. You set goals for that month, and then every week you're supposed to go through, take a look at your monthly goals, and then set weekly tasks based on those goals. I find this works really well for me and my brain, being able to set these big, lofty, long-term, full year, sometimes even multiple year goals. I have goals that are set for 2024, but I'm probably not going to achieve them in 2024. They'll probably roll over for a year or two. But having these big goals that I can really be working towards, but then actually having something to make me stick to it, and setting weekly tasks based on all of these goals so that I'm actually constantly working towards it. Because if I just set the goals, then I'll probably never try to achieve them. And if I set short-term goals, I won't have anything that I'm fully really striving for. They will feel very short-term. So this works for me. Obviously, it doesn't work for everyone. So whatever works for you, obviously, go ahead and do that. This is what works for me, and I am going to walk you through my goals. So like I said, I don't actually use planners for this. I just use Notion. I use Notion for just about everything in my personal life. Not my tasks. My task list I do in a separate app, but Notion holds anything that is not an immediate task for me. So it's just where I also hold my Makse Life goals. We're going to take a look at my goals for 2024 now. The first thing that I do want to say is that I have changed around the categories a little bit. So they had personal growth and also, I believe it's called spiritual growth. I'm not much of a spiritual person, and their whole reasoning is that anything can be considered spiritual. It doesn't have to be religious, it doesn't have to be any of those sorts of things. But I didn't need a whole entire separate category for it, and I don't really think about spirituality at very much at all. And when I was going through and doing the compass assessment that they have that you do at the start of the year, I just realized that it's not something that's important to me. I score pretty low on that in my assessment, but I don't have a problem with that. I don't have anything that I'm wanting to strive towards in terms of directly related to spirituality. So I have sort of combined my spiritual and my personal growth into one category, but as you'll see, there isn't really a lot of spiritual stuff going on in my personal growth category, but that is where my spirituality sits. And then because YouTube is a big part of my life right now, I added that as a separate goal category. Let's take a look. First up, we have my personal growth category. So in this, I have 6 separate goals, as you guys can see, I'm sure, on the screen. There's no magic reveal in this, you guys could just see it. So we're just gonna walk through it. So my first one is to do more baking. I really enjoy baking and cooking, particularly lots of sweets and chocolates and things, and I haven't been doing a lot of that lately, so I'm trying to get back into doing that. I've been doing pretty well so far. I baked some fruit-based desserts in January during my 30-day challenge, and I just baked some brownies last weekend, so that is going well so far. My next goal is to set goals every month. Yes, I have a goal to set goals. I did use Makse Life last year as well as my goal setting system, but I sort of fell off the wagon a little bit towards the end of the year, which was not really surprising. That's pretty standard for me, but I did come back to it at the start of this year, so that's, I think, a good sign that this is a system that I enjoy and that could work for me. But I did put a goal in there for me to set my goals every month. I also want to plan my week every Sunday, so that involves the step of looking at my monthly goals and setting out my weekly tasks, and also just planning out my week in general, having my more standard to-do list, and also checking my calendar, seeing what events I have coming up, integrating all of that into planning out my week. I also want to have a self-care day once a month. This can be whatever I feel is self-care for me. At the time in January, it was having a bath and spending the afternoon with my candle lit reading my book. In February, I don't know what it's going to be yet, but we're going to do something that resembles some form of self-care sometime this month. Now, my next one is to read 25 fiction books. My goal on here in terms of books, in terms of this fiction books category specifically, is a lot lower than my Goodreads goal. These are goals that I want to be able to be setting tasks in order to be working towards. Having my goal set in here to read 50 books means that every week I just have a task that's finish a book, which feels a little bit silly, a little bit redundant, not really necessary to have that task sitting there all the time, especially now that I am in my reading phase. I don't have to be setting myself tasks in order to be reading, I'm just reading. It's very easy. So my goal in here is just to read 25 fiction books, and that's just to keep me motivated with reading and trying to make sure I don't drop off too much. If my hyperfocus does shift onto something else, then that's not necessarily a bad thing, but I do always want to try to keep reading, even if it's only like a couple of books a month. I just want to really make sure I keep reading. And my other one is to read 5 non-fiction books. So when I was in my sort of not really a reading phase, I was still trying to read non-fiction books. I'm really big on learning and self-improvement, so reading self-improvement books was something that I still enjoyed doing, even when I wasn't really reading a lot of fiction books. Now, last year I got really back into reading, and I was reading a lot of fiction books. I think I ended up reading 26 fiction books, and there might have been a couple of non-fictions in there. Over 20 fiction books. 3/4 of that would have been in the last 3 months of the year. So I really picked up on my reading towards the end of the year, but I did drop off on my non-fiction reads. So I really want to make sure that I am still reading some non-fiction books in amongst all of that. So yeah, I set a goal to read 5 non-fiction books throughout the year. So far I have read 1. So we're on track. It's mid-Feb, so that works out pretty well so far. So those are my personal growth goals. Next up, we have fun and recreation. For this, I have 4 goals. So the first one is to see some friends once a quarter. I've always been an introvert and didn't like going out very much, was really bad at keeping up with my friends, all that sort of stuff. But since COVID, I have definitely gotten much worse. Being locked in the house for basically the full year throughout 2020, especially when I didn't have a job, I really got into some bad habits in terms of just wanting to stay home, not wanting to do anything, not wanting to go anywhere. I know a lot of people may have had the opposite reaction. Being locked up for a year made them just want to go out all the time for the next couple of years. I didn't have that. So I made it my goal that I want to go out once a quarter and catch up with some of my friends. My second one is to take a short trip. I don't know what this is going to be exactly, but just something for my partner and I to go away, maybe for a long weekend, and just have ourselves a little bit of a trip. We don't really do that very often. Obviously, we went on our cruise last year. That was a 1-week cruise. It took us a year to actually plan that. We booked the cruise over a year before we went on the cruise. So we don't really just take off for weekends or a few days at a time on trips like it seems like a lot of people do. So we want to try to do that at some point in time this year. My next one is almost 3 in itself, which is to host a dinner party, a Halloween party, and a sparkly Christmas party. The dinner party comes from my sister giving me the D&D cookbook for Christmas, which is really good. I haven't cooked anything out of it yet, but it is such a cute cookbook. It has so many lovely looking recipes. But because of that, I want to host a D&D dinner party. D&D dinner party, I've been calling it. So I want to host that at some point in time within the next couple of months, depending on when my sister is available to hopefully come and visit for it. The Halloween party, I just want to host a Halloween party. That just sounds like fun to me. And the sparkly Christmas party came about because my friend messaged me sometime around Christmas saying that she's so sad seeing all of these really fun, sparkly, happy Christmas dresses that people are buying in order to go to their fun, sparkly, happy Christmas parties, and she doesn't have any to go to. So I decided that I'm going to host what I am calling my sparkly Christmas party sometime this year, near Christmas this year. Probably not Christmas Day this year, but sometime around Christmas, I'm going to host a sparkly Christmas party that we can all wear happy, sparkly Christmas dresses to. So I'm excited for that one. And my last one is a minimum of 1 outing per month. This is another one that stems from the COVID introvert, housebound person that I am, and wanting to break that a little bit. And so 1 outing per month, this is for me and my partner to go out and just do something once a month. Last month we went to the Fairy Tales exhibit at Goma. Even just going out for dinner together, having a bit of a date night, something like that, I think would be considered. I'm not counting like going to the movies because we still have been doing that a bit over the last few years, but anything that's a little bit more involved than just going to the movies, I'm going to count as our 1 outing for the month. Next up, we have work and learning. So the top one, the one that I absolutely really would love to achieve this year, and kind of have to based on my due dates, is to finish my Cert 4. If you don't know, I've been doing my Cert 4 in bookkeeping and accounting for the past couple of years. It was according to the due dates that I have. It's all self-paced, so you can take basically however long you want to do it, but you do have to finish it within a 24-month period, which would have finished, I think, around about next month. But my course changed. I ended up having to pay for a formal extension at one point, and in the end, it's resulted in my course date end being, I think, around about September, October of this year. But I just really want to finish that, as much as I think it is a really good course for me to be doing and to have done. It's not really something, an area of focus in my career that I really want anymore. And it is making it very difficult to get the motivation up to do it. And I have been struggling to do it for the past 12 months, really. And I just want it to be gone. I want it to be done. Juggling a full-time job, a YouTube channel, and a study of some variety is a little bit too much. So I want to try to get at least one of those things off my plate, and hopefully it's not YouTube. My next one is to take up additional responsibilities at work. Just mean like taking on things that I maybe would be a little bit nervous to do in normal times, but I would normally be a little bit nervous and anxious to do, and really just sort of embracing my strengths and building up my confidence to believe in myself to be able to do these harder tasks. And that fits in together with my third one, which is to work towards a promotion. I've been discussing this with my boss, and we are looking at possible promotion around the new financial year for me into a senior role of my role, senior version of my role, I guess you could say. And that involves taking more initiative into things and taking on additional responsibilities. Next up, we have family and relationships. I have another 3 goals for this one. So one is to buy surprise gifts for my partner once a quarter. I hope he's not watching this. I highly doubt it, but he works in a job that involves easy access to clothes and other various household items and things, and he will just randomly bring me home things every now and then. When he sees a piece of clothing that he thinks I would like, he will buy that. When he realizes we need a new frying pan, he will buy that and he will bring it home. All of that sort of stuff. He just does it. It's very nice, and I do not reciprocate very well. So I have a goal for this year to just buy him something every now and then, just to be nice, to show that I do appreciate and love him. So yeah, that's in there. My next one is to visit my mum. Obviously, I've just gone out to her place for Christmas this past Christmas, a couple of months ago. But I want to make sure I'm going out and visiting her at some point in time this year that is not pre-mandated by a big family event. I just want to go and visit her at some point. I've been very bad at doing it, again, since COVID. Pre-COVID, I used to go and visit her a fair bit, but since then, I've been very bad at it. So I want to try to get out and visit her at some point in time this year. And my third one is to play games with my sister twice a month. This was one of my goals last year as well, I think, was to be better at interacting with my sisters. I have 3 sisters, but only one of them is a gamer like me, and so she and I get along very well. But we play games online together, usually once every couple of weeks, few weeks, depending on our schedules. We didn't do very well in January. Both of us had a few things on. We never seemed to have a good weekend lining up in January, but we have started off again pretty well so far in February. We play a lot of like puzzle and survival sort of games together, so that is a lot of fun. We were here forever, I think, is the one we're up to. One of the We Were Here puzzle games together recently. Okay. That is my family and relationship goals. Next up, we have my health and wellness goals. My 30 days soft challenge, which was the challenge that I completed in January of 2024. Was I entirely successful? No, but I did complete it and I was mostly successful, I think. It wasn't just a health and wellness challenge, it was also just a habit building challenge in general, but the main focus was on the health and wellness aspect, so I put it in my health and wellness category. But it did flow on to a few different aspects of life. So that was my first health and wellness. My second one is to get back to a size 12. This is one of the main ones that I don't necessarily think is going to be achieved in 2024, but it's one that I want to be setting goals in order for me to be reaching. And obviously I also realize that the weight itself is not the big factor in terms of my health and wellness. I should be focusing on more about just getting healthy, being active. But the way for me personally, my brain to do that is to encourage me into weight loss goals, because the thing that I can visibly see right now is that I would like to lose some weight. Obviously, I also know that I am not particularly healthy and not active and need to be fitter in general, but that's not as visible to me and not as big of a concern to me. So getting back to a size 12 is how I frame that goal in order to encourage myself to be more active. So that's that one. My third one is to go to the dentist. I do not want to admit how long it's been since I've been to the dentist, but it has been too long. So I set a goal to go to the dentist, and I have actually already booked the dentist appointment. It's not until like late March, so it's a while away, but it's booked. It's booked in. I have to do it. I have to go to the dentist. So I'm not looking forward to it, but it's going to be a goal achieved, so that's good. And my fourth one is to get tested for ADHD. I did actually submit a referral from my GP to a clinic that does testing for ADHD. I haven't heard back from them. I called them last Tuesday and they said that I would hear from them on the following day at the latest, and it's been a week and I still haven't heard from them. So I probably have to call them back again. But I don't like making phone calls, so I'm going to give it probably another week and we will see how that goes. But I do want to get tested for ADHD at some point in time this year. If you guys have missed the entire story, I went through the DSM-5 diagnostic criteria with my psychologist at the start of last year. She is very sure that I do have ADHD, but obviously it's not an official diagnosis coming from a psychologist. I need a psychiatrist in order to give that official diagnosis, so that is something that I want to do this year. It's taken me a year. It was this time last year I was getting tested by my psychologist. Finally, maybe getting around to it. Anyway, next up is my financials. This has 6 goals, one of my bigger categories, and it is one of my big focus areas for myself. So I have 6 financial goals. The first is to see a mortgage broker. No, we are not actually ready to buy a house, unfortunately. I wish that we were, but in the current economy, it's not happening. But one thing that I do want to do this year is for Simon and I to go and talk to a mortgage broker and just see what things we should be doing now in order to be setting ourselves up to be better placed to buy someplace within the next few years, and also just to find out when we will be ready, if there's anything that any particular numbers that we should be aiming for. Obviously I can find a lot of information on the internet, but I think I would like to just go and have a chat to someone and find out from them how it works specifically in our situation. My next one is to do a no spend month at some point in time this year. I have been pretty bad with my spending since I got this new job, which, it's great that I am in a really comfortable position now. I have a job that I am pretty confident that I'm not going to be losing within the next 6 months, unlike my past few jobs, and I'm happy there, and it pays pretty well. Not amazing, it's paying pretty well. So I do really appreciate the situation that I am in which I am able to just go out and spend money when I feel like it, but obviously it's not the best in terms of the buying a house goal. So obviously at some point in time this month I want to try to do a no spend month, and that doesn't mean that I'm not going to spend any money at all. Obviously I still have to pay rent and bills and buy food, but I want to not be spending any money on anything that isn't completely necessary to our lives. So that's in there. My third one is to increase our savings. That one's pretty basic, pretty straightforward. We just want to have more money in our savings account at the end of the year than we did at the start of the year. My fourth one is to increase my income. Obviously I just talked about the potential for a promotion. That promotion will of course come with a raise. So I am pretty hopeful and confident that I will be increasing my income at some point in time this year, and I'm really looking forward to that. The next up is to save 10% of my income towards a house deposit. I did have this set as a goal last year. I wasn't particularly strict on following it exactly, and I did completely reset my budget at the start of this year because it had gotten a little bit out of control towards the end of last year, and I wasn't particularly on top of things. So I just did a full reset, and we are going back to saving 10% of all of the income that comes into my account is going straight towards our house deposit fund. And the final financial one is just to budget weekly. Like I said, last year I sort of fell off the budgeting wagon a little bit, so I want to try to get better at that along with my weekly planning. I'm doing my weekly budgeting, taking a look at my budget, seeing where I've overspent, seeing where I probably shouldn't have overspent, and just being more aware of what I'm spending money on, I think is really important to these other savings and financial goals. Next up is my physical environment. I have 3 goals for this. The first one is to buy some new furniture. We have some plans for some bits of furniture that we're going to be bringing into the house, including a bookshelf, which is going to come with hopefully a bookshelf tour of what our bookshelves currently are, which is going to be a bit chaotic. And then hopefully a video of me setting up the new bookshelf and putting all of our chaos into something perhaps a little bit less chaotic. So that's the plan for that's the main plan for buying some new furniture. We also may just come across some other furniture things throughout the year that we want to try to upgrade our home with. So yeah, it's a goal to buy some new furniture. My next one is to create a consistent cleaning routine. I have been getting much better lately at keeping my kitchen at least moderately clean and trying to work on some other areas of the house, but I really want to make sure I'm trying to be a little bit more consistent with the cleaning around here. And my last one is to start some decluttering projects. I have already started. I have cleared out the main clothes section of my closet in January. I have some other closet decluttering that I need to do. I did just read Marie Kondo book, and I am not going to be following her systems for doing a lot of things because I'm definitely not doing it all in one sitting, but I am slowly working through decluttering bits and pieces around the house throughout the year. And finally is my YouTube goals. Now my first one is to find my niche. I am still working on what it is that my niche is going to be exactly, but I am leaning towards more of the booktube content lately. But I do also still want to do some of these sorts of things, some goal setting, some budgeting and financial sort of things, as well as just some vlogs. So stay tuned for really finding my spot, I guess, in this YouTube world. I didn't actually mention all of these photos are just from the Unsplash, which is linked directly to Notion. You can just add them directly into Notion by changing a cover photo of any pages. I just really like foxes. Finding a photo that matches Find Your Niche is quite difficult, but when I searched niche, it came up with this little fox cup and I thought it was adorable, so this became my photo. If any of the other photos don't make sense, it was for similar reasons. My next YouTube goal is just to make $5. The more I get into this year, the less likely I think that one is, but I do think it's a good goal to have set in order to be working towards specific things and trying to make the YouTube a potentially profitable side hustle. And my final YouTube goal is just to post 3 times per month. I'm currently trying to post once a week and I have so far been successful. Every Thursday I have been releasing videos. So 3 times a month means that I will usually have at least 1 week that I could potentially skip according to this goal. Obviously I would prefer not to skip it, but I have the opportunity to potentially skip the goal if something happens, if something comes up, if I'm just too overwhelmed, if I don't have anything that I want to share. I do have 1 out each month in order to achieve this goal. That's all there is. From there, I have my monthly goals set out inside of the relevant month. It has some names on there, so I'm probably not actually going to show this, but yeah, I have my goals set out in each month from that point onwards. That is my 2024 goals. Unfortunately, with the booktube content that I'm doing, I don't have a lot of available weeks in which to do a monthly reset once a month. I just don't have the space in my YouTube channel for doing a once a week video to fit an entire reset once a month on top of my TBR and my monthly wrap-up videos in terms of my books. I still need a little bit of freedom to do a variety of other things. So you're probably not going to be seeing monthly resets and seeing exactly what my goals are each month and how I'm achieving these each month, but I will try to check in a few times throughout the year, let you guys know how my goals are going. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. What you guys are going to be seeing next week is probably my March TBR video, so stay tuned for that and you'll get to see what books I'm going to be reading in March. And hopefully sometime in March I will do some form of finance content. I don't know what that's going to be just yet, but some form of finance content sometime in March. So that's it from me, and I will see you guys next time. Goodbye!